Today's presenter needs not much introduction. We're all pretty familiar with him, but no further ado, Dr. Norm.
Oh, hang on a second, I gotta change the battery. Hope this doesn't count against my time. But just to let you know that I have, you probably noticed these two buttons on the side of my head. And they're called, I'm back on the ear. They're called cochlear implants. In case you don't know me or what I'm about here, these are devices that help me hear because I've been completely deaf for 50 years. That's a half a century. And this technology has allowed me to hear on the phone. And I have about a 97% comprehension rate when I'm in a soundproof booth. So occasionally though, when I was, well, I still miss things every now and then, but that makes it more interesting because if I don't understand what somebody says, I'll just make it up what I thought they said, and it really becomes humorous sometimes. I've got quite a few stories on that. But when I was growing up, I had a lot of those issues with being in school. And sometimes the instructor would say, okay, we're going to talk about Play-Doh today. So what would I do? I would bring in Play-Doh instead of Plato, you know, the philosopher. Anybody remember the philosopher? Okay, great. So I wanted to also ask you before I get too much further along here. Can you all hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, great. You know, I think that's the dumbest question that any presenter could possibly ask, because what if you can't hear me? Then how are you going to respond to that? So if you ever notice somebody saying, can I hear? I always say, what? Because I used to do opposite. Anyway, it's kind of fun that way. Okay, so a little bit about me before I talk about my business. When I was a young man, you know, all the way through high school and even pre-college, when I first got started in college, I was really kind of a laid back, kind of a bum. You can see that picture there. I really didn't have too much going for me, too much drive, and I read, you know, maybe the Reader's Digest every now and then in the newspaper, and I smoked like a fiend. I used to smoke so bad that even when I had asthma, if I ran out of cigarettes, I'd go up to somebody and say, hey, can I bum a smoke? Excuse me. I was terrible on my body. I drank excessively. I could help my guys in my warehouse that I worked at polish off a case of beer every other night. Whew, that was terrible. And of course, that wasn't too good of a situation for my first wife either. So I really abused alcohol, and we should have never got married in the first place. That's just an excuse. But anyway, alcohol was an abuser for me. And boy, I ate the worst food you can imagine. McDonald's and anything else. It was fried or fat or whatever. Who cares? You know, it was, you know, I was young and stupid, and drive-ins were easy, and I was single. So what do? I'd run around and grab the nearest drive-in. And then, of course, I was really reckless. As you can see this one picture here, I actually skydived. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane, and I managed to injure myself 2 out of 3 times. So I decided this wasn't too good. I was also involved in a rollover crash where I was the passenger and the driver was killed because of our stupid abuse to alcohol. So my life before you all know me is just not really happy. And it was just kind of pitiful, actually. So I was told when I was 27 years old, yeah, if you could drop that down a little bit, I was told by my doctor, Norm, you're never going to hear again. And if you think you are going to be delusional and you're going to make yourself nuts. And I said, no, I'm not going to believe you or anybody else, because that was the medical model back then was, yes, if you had the hearing loss that I had was bilateral sensory neural hearing loss, there's just no way I was ever going to hear. So I made up my mind back then, 25 years, for the next 25 years, I knew I was going to hear again, but I didn't know how. Now, first I learned sign language so I could go to college to get all of my education. You can see that sign on on the far, let's see, on your left over there, the X-ray, that's a sign language sign. So I learned sign language as a second language so I could go to school, get my 3 different college degrees, including my doctorate degrees. And you can see the library books there, those, you have to, put your head into some books in order to get through college. And then I changed the way I exercise. I got on a bicycle, I would put a helmet on, I would ride around, I'd do some walking exercises. And you see the newspapers there that when I got into the University of New Mexico, even though I couldn't hear and even though I had sign language interpreters, nobody was going to tell me what to do. I ran for student senate. I won. Then I took on the administration because they did not want to provide sign language interpreters for extracurricular activities. Of course, they said you don't need extracurricular activities to graduate. That's part of what the education is all about. And so I fought them. And I was in the local newspaper every other day because I was challenging the administration and always doing something to raise a ruckus and create all kinds of mayhem. I was still reckless, but I was focused and organized. And then I learned how to eat better. Barbara, after I met Barbara, after my first wife went away, and then I met Barbara 5 years later, we decided to go and get some education on how to eat and live better, how to take care of our bodies. So we learned how to eat. And then, of course, I learned all about nutrition in a supplement form because there's a lot to be said that we cannot eat our way to good health. There's a lot of missing components. So we learned about nutrition and we become experts on nutritional supplementation. So
Sorry.
I'm good. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So you can see that I was told you'll never hear again, but then I got my cochlear implant, the first one 24 years ago, the second one about 15 years ago. And so that's really changed the trajectory of my life in a big way. So then about 6 years ago, I ran into this report from the Lancet Commission. Now this is dated 2024 because this was just changed the 31st of July of this year. But in 2020, the Lancet Commission came out. Can you move?
Yeah.
Okay, so get over here. So this is a list of the 14 modifiable risk factors for developing dementia. And you can see up here, hearing loss is 7%. Now this high cholesterol and the vision was not there in 2020, but I didn't know that then. But I realized then, hey, you know what? I have a huge modifiable risk, my hearing loss. And I had a high school education until I was, 27 or 30 years old. And for a while, I was smoking. I had high blood pressure. I was, excessive alcohol. I had all those things. And then I discovered accidentally, because of this report, that, hey, I did all those things. I modified all those behaviors so that I did not end up and do not have dementia. And I'm so glad we're in St. Louis today because I'm celebrating. So I decided that this is really valuable information. I want to share this with as many people as I can. So what I started to do is I started to speak on this issue because I thought, hey, you know what? Not only have I overcome some huge challenges in my life, being deaf, learning sign language, actually getting 3 college degrees, including a doctor's degree, getting married again, 44 years now, 4 kids and all that. So anyway, I started speaking just for free. I wanted to let people know, hey, this is really important. You can do something about reducing the risk of dementia because the stats are that dementia will triple in the next 25 years. It's a growing thing because we, as a population, don't really do the things we need to do. Like people who need hearing aids go, oh, they make me look vain. I mean, I'm vain. I don't want people to look at me with hearing aids on. Those are, or things like that. Or maybe they don't want to get their cataracts removed. I had my cataracts done about 15 years ago so that I can see better. And vision is one of those modifiable risk factors. Anyway, so I started speaking. I went to the Kiwanis and Civicans and Rotary and senior centers and assisted living centers. And I just got the word out, hey, listen, you got to know, you want to make a difference in your life. You want to stop the progression of the possibility of getting dementia. You've got to do something. You got to be ambitious. And then I had a chance to speak professionally at the chiropractic convention here in town. And then I went, oh, you know what? I've always wanted to be a professional speaker. So what I decided to do is I'm going to become a professional speaker and start getting paid for this. So I started doing that. I started doing that about 2.5 years ago. I gave my first presentation a couple of years ago. So my business is drnormsconnections.com. My business is a professional speaker that inspires others with my story and commits a commitment to help prevent dementia. I'm suggesting that you now become ambitious about taking care of your health so that you don't end up dying too short and dying too long and living too short. You don't want to die too long and live too short. Don't let the light dim. Vote for your health and be ambitious and make a difference in your life, in your friend's life, in your family's life by taking this information and going with it. So my challenges are, I need to connect with more organizations. I need to get out there and just talk to people who say, hey, this is good information. We want our employees or our customers to know about this. I need to refine my speaking skills. Obviously, I'm not Tony Robbins, or I wouldn't be here, but I'm working on it. And I have had a lot of people say, hey, we like you, we like your energy, we like your message. We want you to come and talk. Excuse me. I need to create a sizzle video. I've had 2 opportunities to speak in a pretty nice professional environment, and they said, send me your video, and I don't have a sizzle video. And those things are expensive, so I know I need to get one of those things, and I'm just not in the budget yet to be able to afford that. And I'd love to get a TED Talk out there to find a mentor that says, Norm, hey, this is really good TED Talk information. Let's help you refine and craft your 10 to 15-minute speech about your story and your information about dementia. So I think that wrapped me up for about 6 minutes, so I will take some questions if you have any. And, oh, yes, and also the last thing I want to share with you is, let's talk. If you have a concern about dementia for you or your family, just go to the QR code, set up a time, and I'll be happy to give you an hour's worth of my time to let you know and help you create a plan that will implement some of these things or help you recognize some of these modifiable risk factors that can really make a difference in your life. Okay, now I'm ready for any questions if you have any. Oh, Paul, hey,
Yeah.
come up.
Hi.
Hi. You want the microphone?
Yeah, I got to introduce myself. So here's the protocol. Point the mic directly at your mouth. Say your name and who you're with. I'm Paul Sauter with Equisy. So my question is, and this is a question that's relevant to everybody. Where are you getting advice on improving your speaking?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. I forgot to cover that. I recently joined the National Speakers Association Albuquerque chapter. They have nothing but professional speakers and writers. And we meet once a month. So I'm there getting support from them. And I also joined a professional speakers Toastmasters club that all we do is we evaluate people's professional speeches before they go out into the world. So I joined that about a year or so ago. So I'm getting really good advice from them.
So I'd like to recommend Pat McNamara, who was a coach for ABQID. He used to train presenters from Myriad. So they trained physicians to promote genetic testing for the hereditary predisposition to breast cancer. So he is a fantastic coach. And I was already pretty good when I started, but he made me a lot better. So I will put you in touch with him. And anybody else know Pat McNamara from back then? Yep. Okay. That's my suggestion.
Thank you, Paul. Great information. Okay, next.
Morning.
Morning.
Miriam Ortiz-Pino with More Than Organized. I had two thoughts. One, you have a lot of video and photos because Deanna takes them every week here. You have Steve, that's a video editor guy. You have a wife that's up almost all of your things that could start filming on her phone, all of your speaking things, and then your speaking sizzle reel gets much less expensive. So I think there's plenty of resources in the room for that for you. And then I want to know what you're doing to find organizations to speak at. What have you already tried?
Well, I approached a number of state chiropractic associations around the country. And I have to go through an executive director, and if they don't know me, they don't do anything. So I have not had good success with that. And I have reached out to Rotary, and there's one of those organizations that said, oh, you need a sizzle video. But I just don't have, if I had an inside contact with some of those organizations, I'm sure I'd be much more successful at it. But right now, I'm still just going to the senior centers and the assisted living centers and things like that. So that's what I'm doing right now.
There are a few organizations and associations specifically geared towards the assisted living environment. So there's like senior move managers and care coordinators and that kind of thing. And I can't remember, I don't know if anyone in here knows. There is a local group that is all the people involved with senior care, and I will try to pull up that information for you afterwards. But they meet regularly as well. So that would be a great way to get to know individual people.
Super. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here. Oh, somebody else?
Thank you for bringing that up. It's Senior Care Insights.
Yes.
And they meet at Sunny Side Up Cafe on,
Louisiana.
yes. And I will get you the exact date, but I'm pretty sure that it's the third Tuesday. It's weird. It alternates months, but that's where it is. So we'll get you the exact information. That's what it's called, the Senior Care Insights at Sunny Side Up Cafe.
Thank you. Come on up.
Dr. Norm, congratulations
Thank you.
for staying clear. My name's JP. Some people have seen me around here. I have a couple of Enchanted Lands musics and soundscapes and Crystal Sound Bath and Amazing Life. I'm working on how to help people in wellness. So this is in the periphery of stuff that I'm interested in. It touches me, especially because my dad had dementia and I helped him cross to the next beyond through that life experience, which is really insane and heart-wrenching. And then a dear friend of mine has a parent who is in a stage of dementia. So I'm going through it again, watching her and what she's going through. So one question I have is how people that are already in stages of dementia, is there anything that we could be giving them besides the medication to help them manage or diminish some of the symptoms?
Super. So you're asking if there's things that can be done for people who already have early stage dementia. Early stage dementia, matter of fact, I just got asked that question by a friend of mine. He said his wife just recently entered an early stage dementia thing. And I said, well, once dementia starts, because it starts 15 to 20 years before we get diagnosed. But some of the things that I would suggest is there are things that you can do to increase the neuroplasticity of the brain. For example, if those people were to be in a group and be playing board games with other people, that requires some thinking, and it could change. It could slow down the progression. It could create new neural pathways that the brain can use that have not been damaged by early dementia. They can learn physical things like they could brush their teeth with their non-dominant hand, for example. Or they could do things that they do around the house or the kitchen or whatever. You know, if they put their pants on the right leg first, put it on the left leg, or things that are different. And that it increases the neurons in the brain. That's neuroplasticity is what it's called. And those kinds of things can make a difference. If they can still make decisions, they can learn how to play a simple musical instrument. So those are some of the things that I would suggest for those people at the very early stage. Now, if they can no longer think and make decisions on their own, then I don't have anything else that I'd recommend.
Right. So a lot of those cognitive exercises keep the brain active and like you said, it's reconnecting neural pathways or creating new ones. So is there any kind of supplement or dietary thing that a person can take to before they start seeing symptoms of dementia? Is there something that can help in that way?
You don't know if there's any supplements for?
Right.
Okay. Once you have the disease, it's not something that a supplement can really help with, but if you understand the physiology, and I'll just do that, I'll try to make it really easy here. The physiology basically is that the brain, for a variety of reasons, the nerve endings in the brain start to become inflamed or oxidized, if you will. And so when those endings of the nerve become oxidized and inflamed, they just can't function. They can't send a message from this nerve to this nerve because they're damaged. When you think about it, ultimately, we all die from inflammation unless we're hit by a semi or, an airplane. But the body eventually breaks down once we get to a certain point, and it breaks down and starts to inflame the kidneys and the liver and the heart or the brain or whatever. So what I recommend is you take a high quality, science-based, optimal level nutritional product that has a variety of antioxidants and supplements that will make a difference to help reduce the risk. And it won't stop. I can't guarantee that, but I do know that if you check your inflammation, which you can do with a simple blood test, you can reduce the risk by taking high quality supplements. Good question.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate what you're doing. And, we're all going to go at some point, and it's how we go, which I think makes the quality of our life great or not so great. And so I think the education before someone gets sick, like maybe people in their 50s, 60s, start really kind of going down this path of looking at their diet and their wellness and all these things and kind of going, oh, I need to change this because in the future, this could happen, or I could, dissuade something from happening by altering, something in my daily practice. So one last thing I wanted to kind of ask you about support groups for people that are dealing with people in dementia. Is that included in your realm of education?
Hi, thanks for the question on support groups. I don't generally go to support groups that have the disease already.
Okay.
Is
Are
that what you,
are there support groups for like families of people dealing with dementia?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm sure there are. I haven't reached out to them, but that's a good resource to talk to people who, they don't have dementia, but maybe their family
Right.
friends do. Okay, that's a good point.
Because if there's some kind of genetic or if there's a genetic predisposition in that family and someone's parent or aunt or uncle or someone has dementia and they're not aware of like, oh, they could change this pattern in their life. So maybe that's just another avenue for you to kind of step in and for the preventive.
That's a good point. I can certainly pursue that and see if there's a professional way for me to do that would want them to, hey, Dr. Norman, we want to know what we can do.
Right.
So thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
You bet.
Appreciate you.
You bet. And your name is?
I'm Barbara with Purple Mulch. And Norm, I've got a couple of questions, but the first is something that JP just brought up. What is the risk if my mom or my father had dementia? What's the genetic connection between that and me acquiring dementia? Is it like, oh, well, I'm gonna get it. What do you know about that risk?
Okay, so you're asking if we have a genetic predisposition.
Yeah,
I
I keep hearing a pop
Okay,
too.
if we have a genetic predisposition, what is the risk of us developing dementia?
Yes.
That is I'm just going to say from my own knowledge and my own experience is that if you have a genetic predisposition, it does not mean you will get that genetic predisposition. Is all I can say about that. There are ways to, for example, as I mentioned to you earlier, is that if a person does have the APOE genetic component code in there, whatever that's called. If you do things like you learn, you keep your brain engaged, you read, you learn music, you dance, you connect with people socially, you can create an extra set of neurons in there that even if you do have the genetic factor, and even if you do have some deterioration, for a while you can maintain cognitive skills. It doesn't mean just because you have the genetic predisposition you will have. It's just not yes and no, black and white is not cause and effect. There are some factors there, but I've seen a number of studies showing where people had double genetic factors and they don't have any risk of dementia. They don't develop dementia even after they passed away. So great question.
And the other question, looking at your business and that you want to, do more as a public speaker, wave your magic wand. What's your ideal group that we can help you connect with that would, maybe open some doors for you? What are you looking for? Are you looking for large organizations like healthcare organizations or banks, or I'm looking around out the windows, who do I see out there? What are you looking for? What would be your ideal next step in hitting a larger audience?
Tough question.
Thank you.
My ideal market. Ideally, I've had in my mind, let's suppose that IBM came to me and said, hey, Norm, we're having this gigantic international convention. And, we talk about circuit boards and computers and technology and all that, but we need somebody to come in and talk about brain circuits, which is what I do. My ideal market would be a large, I know that there are organizations out there that have big bucks. They pay an insane amount of money for people to go to speak. My goal is to get $10,000 per keynote address. That's what my goal is. So IBM is an example, would be some gigantic international company that has their annual or quarterly convention, and they say, hey, come on over here. We'll pay you way over here. You bring your wife with you. And that would be an ideal, magical someday thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I got a kiss like I did.
Oh, yes, I almost did, and I thought, well, I'm gonna be.
I did it for her now. Yes, sir.
You're not getting a kiss from me.
That's fair enough.
I'm Dr. Professor Brett Trusco. I grew up here, but I only came back to Albuquerque a couple of years ago. Do you write, blog, books, articles, anything like that? Because I literally probably have given over 1,000 speeches in my life, and I do get paid to speak. But I've also written 7 books and probably hundreds of articles, and it gets their attention. And so, if you don't write, I'm certainly happy to help you find things and read papers, but let me know.
That's a great question, and I often am asked, do you have a book? I have written the skeleton of the book. I do a lot of blogs. I do a lot of social media posts. I do a lot of writing. I just haven't finished the book yet. I haven't pushed the book out to get it out. It's just one of those things that takes time and effort, and I have not done that, and I know I need to do that.
Well, I'll give you my contact information. I've been through it many, many times, and I'm happy to just talk to you about it if you need help.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Marlene Brown, and I am full-time photovoltaic faculty at C&M. And JP made me think of something is, what about so many of us have had family going through many diseases. And I know that for myself, when I've been at the hospital with family members, trying to understand whatever disease that is really stressful. And I'm guessing that dementia is very similar. People end up in the hospital or in a nursing home or wherever they end up. And families don't know how to navigate that. And that would be a really to be some kind of consultant or to give regular talks or get in with those communities. So I'm thinking, you know, at the University of New Mexico Hospital or Press or other hospitals around the state, that you could be a resource. And especially for families. So I know, I would have appreciated to know, you know, for my own self, I had a family member die of leukemia, I had a family member die of pancreatic cancer, and I didn't understand any of that. I had to learn on my own. And with other family members, super stressful. So I think that you being a resource for this, which is, I mean, dementia is really hard, would be really helpful to many families.
That's a really good idea. I appreciate that resource. I'll try to figure out a way to get into the institutions like that and see if I can avail myself of their, what I do so I can do that. So thank you. Brooke.
I'm Brooke Nutting, owner of Death Doula Professionals. Thank you for being in this business. My father died of dementia in 2015. And for me, the local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association was a huge help. It was terrifying to walk in those doors, but the amount of information I got was phenomenal. And I'm currently working with an adult child of a woman who has dementia, and I've sent her to that support group area, and she is finding a ton of support there. So that might be a good avenue to at least approach and see as an option to speak or engage with. And then Danielle and I share an office, and we have a great space where you can come and set up to present and do your sizzle video if you'd like to do that. We could try and hook you up and get you moving forward on that, and you can just come in and use it, and we'll work with you however you need us to do it.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate the comment about the Alzheimer's. They are a fantastic group, and I do use some of their resources, but most of those people are volunteers, and it would be, kind of counterproductive. I hate to say I'm making money on it, but just how I get stuff out there. Plus, my component is also the inspirational part about how to overcome a major disability and to reduce the risk of dementia. So I do use their resources, and but I will take you and Danielle up on your offer for doing the presentation at your office. Thank you.
Clifton Chadwick, Comunicaciones Cocopelli. I am doing this thing with my fingers because, you know, I'm probably getting demented. Number one, thanks to you for getting me to get hearing aids. We no longer play nearly as much Here's What I Heard at my house. I now have a neat way of finding a little peace when the grandchildren come over. And let's see, that was one of the things. The other thing is that assisted living facilities, retirement people, are you checking in with them?
I am.
I think those would be great groups to speak to. Relative to your sizzle reel, anytime you speak, you ought to ask if they're going to record it. And if they are, if they could provide you some of that, so that with no money, you can cobble together a little something.
Are you going to record this?
I am recording it.
There you go. All right, part of your sizzle reel. And then, shoot, the last thing. Damn it. All right.
Thank you for your questions. And did you want me to sign out with anything?
Exactly. Well, we'll start with, what's the one thing that this community can do for you today to help you move along?
Thank you. If you could put that last slide up, that'd be great. The one thing you can do today as a group, I would like to ask you to be ambitious about you reducing the risk of you and your family developing dementia by taking this information to heart and applying it to your body now. Don't let the light dim. You can vote for your health and make a difference. There's hope for you if you will just do things like Clifton did. He got a couple of hearing aids. And other people here that might have that. And watch what you eat, exercise more, engage your brain, and yes, sir.
The fourth thing is what you were talking about, inflammation. I did want to point out that at some grocery stores, there's a great National Geographic 90-page booklet on inflammation. And it really touches on so much that you said. It's very clear and understandable. I encourage everybody to look into it. Thank you.
That's National Geographic Information, and where'd you get that again?
At the magazine rack at the Impulse Center by the cash register.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll check that out. That's great information. And that's National Geographic article on inflammation magazine at the checkout in the grocery stores.
Where I found it.
Okay, good. That's good. I'll check it out. Thank you. So anyway, continuing on, make a difference in your own life, and then if you need some help planning on maybe what you can do or what you would like to take a look at with these 14 modifiable risks, get a little bit more information. Just do the QR code here, and you can set up an appointment with me, and I will give you a freebie for an hour or whatever, so we can talk about it.
Okay, and our final question, red or green?
Christmas.